When the film begins, we are shown a scene from a town during the Halloween season. From one of the houses in town, there is a house lived by a woman named Bailey. Bailey doesn't live alone since she lives in the house with her friend, Harper. Harper has lately experienced heartbreak due to her recent breakup with her boyfriend, Sam. She has no longer in relationship with Sam because of her boyfriend's frequent physical abuse towards her. In fact, after breaking up, Bailey and Harper's house is always attacked by an unknown person. Her two friends, Angela and Mallory, decide to take Harper for a walk to a nearby cafe, in order to comfort her when she is feeling down. They meet two guys, Nathan and Evan, while spend time at a cafe. Once they've had enough time together while waiting for 12 a.m., Evan invites them all to go to a haunted house. Well, everyone agrees because as far as they know, the haunted house is just a regular recreation place with some Halloween characters. After hours of traveling, they arrive at the location of the haunted house, which is quite remote and far away from the residential area. When they arrived in front of the haunted house, they can see other visitors waiting in line to get into the building. We can tell from this point forward that Evan and his friends are not the first people to enter the house. Bailey is directed to the front, where the clown performs a brief demonstration of simple magic, before handing Bailey a locker key. Before entering the house, Bailey and her friends are instructed to read over the rules and agreements of the haunted house. First of all, they must continue on the path that has already been marked. Second, they are not allowed to touch the ghosts inside, and third, all of their cell phones must be collected and placed in a locker. For the last agreement, they must also complete a form that includes their full name and home address. When they have all finished signing the paper, the 6 of them are allowed to begin their adventure inside the house. At first, it is just like a typical haunted house, and there isn't anything unusual about it. However, every room in the haunted house is becoming more and more intriguing for them as they enter it. In the third room, they see someone with a witch's mask who is about to perform for them. So far, they aren't afraid at all, instead they are more curious in what the witch would do. Then, their curiosity is answered after the witch uses a real human as a part of the show. The witch then dipped an iron in the high-temperature liquid, and pressed it into the woman's face. After watching the show, the 6 of them are still believe that the scene they witnessed was a staged one. They continue their journey inside the house, where they will find 2 entrances, one of which is safe and the other which is not. Therefore, the group is divided into 2 groups with an unsafe path for Evan, Harper, and Mallory, while the safe path will be taken by Nathan, Bailey, and Angela. In an unsafe path, Evan along with Harper and Mallory must pass through a passage strewn with cobwebs. Even though it is only a fake cobwebs, but the haunted house organizer still put real spiders in it. Nathan, Bailey, and Angela on the other hand, begin to pass through a passage in which every wall has been greased with oil. I'm not sure what the purpose is, but the room they pass through is certainly not difficult, as the path's name implies. Then, we return to Evan and his friends, who are trying to figure out what these 3 chests mean. Harper realizes that there is a riddle in the room that they must solve on their own, and she begins to look around for it. When Harper closes crate number 3, they suddenly hear a loud sound coming from inside the chest. To prove the cause of the loud noise, one person must enter the chest with the door closed. Now it's Harper's turn to get into the chest, and she doesn't experience any problems while inside it. But unlike Mallory, when she is inside the chest, she is swarmed by a large number of spiders. But it turns out that the spider pool is just an illusion. After passing the puzzle from the coffin, they are faced with a very narrow and dark tunnel. It's really much different from the challenges faced by Nathan and his friends. They do not appear to have encountered any difficulties at all. Harper, on the other hand, has already inside the tunnel. During this challenge, Evan again takes the lead to find a way with Harper in the middle, and Mallory at the back. Because there are too many forked paths to follow, Harper accidentally sees a shadowy figure who isn't entirely clear who it is. When Harper notices this, she decides not to linger and immediately follows Evan, who has already left her. After coming out from the hole, they are surprised as they notice Mallory has disappeared. Nathan, Bailey, and Angela on the other hand, have made their way into the next room. Angela starts to put her hand in, and feels something with a chewy texture that she is unsure of what it is. After that, Nathan also puts his hand in, and he manages to guess what he is holding, which is a grape. But unlike Bailey, she doesn't feel anything at all. Instead, she feels a sudden pain where her hand looks like it has been scratched with a sharp object. Then we go back to Evan as well as Harper, who hasn't seen Mallory so far. Unexpectedly, it isn't Mallory who appears, but rather a mysterious man with a devil mask who has just comes out from the hole. At this point, Harper senses that something is wrong, and she just happens to notice that there is an emergency exit. The two of them are still forced to walk into the next room, even without Mallory's presence. At this moment, Harper purposely offers to go in first because she doesn't want to wait alone with the devil-masked man. It turns out that the hole isn't as complicated as the previous one, as it is simply a slide that took Harper to a different room. But there is a person wearing a zombie mask, who approaches them while holding a chainsaw inside the room. Luckily, he doesn't really want to attack Evan and Harper, but only of scaring them. After Evan and Harper making their way through the room, they begin to be in the same room with their 3 other friends. It is in this room that they will have to witness the same witches' performances for a second time. But, unlike the previous show, this one is a bit different. Because the victim of the show for this time is Mallory, who is no longer conscious. The 5 of them become hysterical as they realize that Mallory has been kidnapped, and is made to become a part of the show. Moreover, they are forced to look at Mallory, who is being stabbed in the head with a hot iron by the witch. Feelings of regret and panic make them unsure of whether or not to go on to the next room. At that moment, Nathan thought that they should take their cell phones, which were locked in the locker. But the problem is that they are unable to find their way back to the entrance. Harper says that she saw the emergency exit in the previous room. But there can only be one way to get to the door, which is through the red door that Evan and Harper have just passed. Evan then asks for Angela's hair clip to tamper with the deadbolt in order to unlock the door. But because the door lock is not like a regular lock, Angela's hair clip broke instead. In the end, they have no choice but to proceed to the next room. Since there has to be a volunteer between Nathan and Evan to walk to the next door, Nathan then offers himself to walk there. And the other 4 people will be waiting in that room, while thinking about their next plan. Nathan takes a brave step forward, holding a locker key in his hand. He continues to walk, until he came across a room with statues that is covered with a cloth. Nathan is then surprised when the smoke suddenly appears, causing the locker key to fall into the vent under his feet. Moreover, the person who was in the middle of the path has just disappeared. Well, at this point, Nathan starts to feel afraid, and he has no choice but to walk to the door in front of him. But he is once again shocked by one of the statues that falls suddenly. Following that, the person who has disappeared turns out to be disguised among the statues, and he walks away from Nathan. Nathan's shouts are then responded by the figure, who says he will help Nathan in a moment. Evan, on the other hand, reaches out his hand through the wire fencing to see what he might found. He then calls Angela to come get a crowbar that he has found. However, just as Angela is about to touch the crowbar, her hand is stepped on by the witch we've seen earlier. When Evan realizes what has happened, he grabs the crowbar and sees as the wizard exits the room. At the same time, Nathan comes with the ghost mask guy to meet the 4 of them. The ghost guy seems to care about Bailey's condition, and he takes out the key to unlock the red door. All of them then return to the room which Evan and Harper have passed. However, when they open the emergency door, all they find is a wall with no way out. As a result, everyone gets angry and threaten the ghost mask figure to tell them the real way out. The figure then tells them that there is only one way out, which is to return into the room they have passed. In order to return, they must pass through a foretold that Evan and Harper have passed through it. At this point, they are all aware that the tunnel has a traps. The ghost guy tells that if there are more than one person in the tunnel at the same time, a secret door will be triggered, and one of them will fall down the tunnel. It's the same thing that happened to Mallory. After hearing all of the explanations, Harper immediately asks for the key to the room that the ghost guy keeps with him. Evan then offers to be the first person to pass through the hole. Luckily, it doesn't take Evan long to find his way out of the tunnel. After that, Nathan purposely directs the ghost guy to pass through the tunnel just after Evan, preventing the figure from escaping. But apparently Nathan's plan is fatal, as the mysterious figure immediately closed the way out of the tunnel. At the same time, Evan keeps thinking which way he has walked as he has passed through room after room. He doesn't want to make a misstep so his friends could safely get out of there. Then it's Nathan's turn to make his way through the tunnel. Meanwhile, the ghost masked figure has managed to block the exit. Harper, who keeps guarding the yellow door, begins to notice someone is trying to get in. In the end, she can no longer hold the door and orders Bailey and Angela to hurry up. It turns out the person behind the door is a devil-masked figure, and he has brought his fork hoe with him. As a result, Angela, who has been captured, is immediately stabbed in the head with the fork hoe. Harper does not want to take the risk after seeing this, and she is forced to continue her escape plan A another way. Unfortunately, none of the keys are able to open the red door, despite the fact that she has brought all of the keys. Bailey, who has entered the tunnel, causes the secret door to open, and Nathan immediately falls into a different room. In another situation, Evan manages to return to the entrance, but the cell phone locker is no longer there. It turns out that the locker had been brought by someone in a clown mask, the one who was guarding the entrance earlier. Plus, Evan, who is alone in the front, has to deal with the ghost mask. Harper still can't find a way out. Instead, she is surprised by the presence of a devil-masked figure who has predicted her movements. At this point, Harper believes that the figure in red is her ex-boyfriend, Sam. But her guess is wrong, because the figure is actually a man who has become a follower of the devil. Meanwhile, the real Sam is still trying to contact Harper, whom he hasn't heard since they broke up. He has no idea that Harper's cell phone is already in the hands of the clown, and makes Sam no longer able to contact her. Harper, on the other hand, still in a panic as she is being stared at by the devil, until Nathan appears and saves her. In a different situation, Evan, who is alone, can no longer go anywhere, because the ghost masked man has been waiting for him. Even worse, the ghost man doesn't waste any time and decides to kill Evan on the spot. At this point, Harper is still struggling to find the way out, as well as run away from the devil man. As soon as she gets inside, she has to dig through a bucket full of human organs, but she manages to find a flashlight, which would be very useful in this situation. For his part, Nathan is no longer on the game path, and has already entered the haunted house's operational room. He can see the 3 holes in the room, where they put their hands in, are already prepared with noodles, grapes, and a razor blade that previously injured Bailey. Not far from that place, he manages to find a room, where the clown man used to store the cell phones that are taken from the locker. But unfortunately, when Nathan has just entered, he is startled by the arrival of someone. After a few minutes of waiting, Nathan then decides to come out of hiding. But he is again surprised by the presence of the ghost mask guy, who is just waiting in the room. Luckily, Nathan still has enough time to use Harper's cell phone to send Sam of the location. But the message sent then makes a sound, which makes the ghost mask guy to attack Nathan right away. As a result, Nathan has to run away from the ghost guy. In the end, he manages to find the only way out of there. The scene then moves back to Harper, who is making her way through a new room that has been installed with various sharp objects. This room is purposefully designed to cause visitors hurt, as they struggle to find their way around in the dark. Harper is then shocked by the presence of someone in front of her, causing her feet accidentally stuck in a nails. It doesn't stop there. Harper also sees a rope above her begin to move, and it turns out that the mysterious figure is cutting the rope. Moreover, while Harper is running away, she keeps crawling until she realizes that her hands have stuck in a very strong glue. She is then forced to let her palms tear to get rid of the glue. Harper then enters a room marked as an escape room. In such a state of panic, she immediately pushes tables against the door, preventing it from opening. She then found a backward writing that she can only read using a mirror. From the writing, Harper is told to find the key to escape from the very last room of the haunted house. She rummages through every drawer in the room, and she found a pattern paper that is exactly the same as the wallpaper on the wall. On the wallpaper, it is written that the dolls see everything. And she found a piece of written paper inside the doll's face.
Something is hiding under the bed.
Harper then tries to look under the bed, where she found nothing strange there, except for a box containing a knife-shaped key. But suddenly, Harper has to face a mysterious figure who keeps trying to get into the room. Judging from his feet, it is clear that the figure is a man in red who has met Harper many times. At this point, Harper doesn't want to be too afraid of the figure anymore, and she directly stabs the demonic man with the key she is holding. Harper then tries to open the last door, but there's already a mounted rifle behind the door. Fortunately, Harper, who is standing right in front of the door, was only hit on her right shoulder and not on her head. But the red cloak guy is still chasing her even with the 1 damaged eye. At this point, Harper doesn't want to miss out on the opportunity, and the man's eyeball is immediately pressed by Harper. until the devil man's head is blown off by a rifle. The light in the hallway then turned on by itself, and there is absolutely no exit that she can pass through. In another situation, the clown guy is destroying Evan's car, which is of course to prevent them from leaving the house. The entire committees that held the haunted house seem to be planning something. Following that, a figure in black cloak is deliberately deployed to meet Harper. But Harper is no longer in the hallway, and it turns out that she is already behind him, and she immediately stabs the figure. But imagine her surprise after finding out the figure behind the mask is Bailey, her friend. In other words, Bailey herself had been tricked by the haunted house committees into convincing her that she can get out of there. In fact, it is planned since the panicked Harper would kill every figure wearing the cloak. At the same time, Sam manages to arrive at the location that has been sent to him via Harper's cell phone. But Sam's arrival does not last long, because he has to meet a clown-masked figure who has set a trap for him. In such a short time, Sam is shot with a bolt, and his head is smashed with a hammer. Then, we're back with Harper, who is cornered and is unable to find a way out. But Harper is still lucky because there is Nathan who keeps trying to save her. Meanwhile, Harper has to face again with a zombie masked guy, who is holding a chainsaw in the hallway. And Nathan is attacked by the ghost guy, and that condition makes the four of them have to fight each other. Harper has then managed to defeat the zombie figure, and she has to intervene to help Nathan. Nathan then shows Harper the way out since he has already found the only way out previously. However, Harper, who has climbed to the top first, will have to confront the witch who murdered Mallory. Nathan then immediately pulls the witch's leg, causing the witch to fall and can't move anymore. In another situation, the remaining clown man plans to set the house on fire. Nathan and Harper continue to run away from the house, after realizing that their only car has been damaged. At this point, the haunted house is completely burned. And fortunately, they found Sam's car parked nearby. The fact that there are parked cars shows that Sam's arrival is actually helpful, because Harper and Nathan might have run out of blood if Sam hadn't arrived. Long story short, Harper is allowed to return to her home after receiving treatment. The clown-masked man who is still alive decides to repeat his actions, with Harper, who will be the first victim before Nathan. The clown able to find the participant's house because of the consent form, which contains the participant's address. What makes me salute is that Harper has really predicted the incident. In the end, the clown is caught in a trap that has been set by Harper herself. Harper's trap is inspired by a dark room earlier, and it manages to overwhelm the clown. Following that, the clown man is immediately smashed on his head as a farewell. And with that, the film ends.